I didn't react when the words came out of her mouth. You can wait in the garage. The laughter that followed had a familiar ring to it, shrill, artificial, soaked in wine and spite. But it wasn't just her voice. The whole room joined in. Her tone was the blade, but their laughter was the force driving it deeper. I looked around. Every other person had a seat, her old college roommate, the yoga instructor she barely mentioned, even the divorce attorney she once claimed we no longer needed. But not me. I was still standing there, holding the bottle of wine I'd brought, still wrapped in a ribbon like the kind she used to smile at. She leaned in close to the woman next to her and whispered, not quietly enough, "He actually believes this is still for both of us." Her words hit harder than they were meant to, splintering something invisible inside me. It wasn't loud. It was the kind of shatter that happens to glass just before it gives, subtle, sharp, irreversible. She turned back toward me with a smile that could strip flesh from bone. "Why waste a seat on you?" I didn't say a word, just nodded once, walked over to the coat rack, slipped into the black wool coat she had gifted me the previous winter, back when she still told me she loved me. I turned at the door and looked her in the eye, calm and even. "Check under our bed," I said. Then I left. The garage door slammed behind me like a gunshot echoing through a church. Before I could even start the car, my phone vibrated. Her mother. "Son, wasn't that a bit much? You didn't have to go that far." I ended the call without a word. No response. Not anymore. It hadn't started with fights. It began with laughter that excluded me, with glances that lingered too long between people who pretended to barely know each other. It began the day she changed her phone's password and told me it was for work security. When her showers got longer, her arrivals later, her bedtime earlier. But the true beginning was a single exchange. I asked, "Are you all right?" She answered, "Are you?" That's when I knew. She wasn't hiding the truth anymore. She simply didn't care if I found out. The cheating wasn't obvious. There were no lipstick smears on shirts or strange scents on her clothes. It arrived like fog, quiet, creeping, impossible to grasp. In the way her fingers no longer reached for mine in the middle of the night. In how she'd ask about my day, but her eyes would drift before I finished answering. I convinced myself it was just stress, maybe exhaustion, anything but betrayal. But deep inside, something else had started to stir. Not fury, strategy. I let her believe I was blind. Let her grow confident in my silence. She mistook quiet for weakness. She forgot that I've always done my most careful work in silence. So I began with a second phone. Cheap. Disposable. Impossible to trace. Through it, I posed as a man seeking legal advice, curious about the process of divorce. I sent out anonymous inquiries to every family law practice in town, including the one she used. They started sending me intake forms. Most looked the same, standard legal jargon, but one stood out. In the margin, scribbled in her familiar handwriting, were the words, "No shared assets. Husband unaware." Then came the banking notifications. She'd opened a new checking account, hidden from me, and had been using it to reserve hotel rooms twice a month in the neighboring city. Each booking under a different alias, but always checked in using one particular name, Holloway. Her maiden name. I called the hotel, pretending to confirm a reservation. "Just checking the booking for Mr. and Mrs. Holloway," I said. The receptionist responded cheerily, "Oh yes, they're frequent guests." I didn't explode. I didn't accuse. I collected. I saved every receipt, every hotel confirmation, screenshots, email confirmations, GPS records. I archived everything meticulously. Then I took the next step, not for her, but for the little boy who called me Dad. He was 5. He had my expressions, but not my DNA. Not even close. I sent off for a paternity test. And then I waited. I slept beside her for 47 more nights. I kissed her forehead, sat through dinner conversations, and listened to her rehearse half-truths like they were bedtime stories. Because destruction doesn't need to be loud. The best kind of collapse happens when the scaffolding vanishes from beneath someone just as they get comfortable. The envelope came quietly on a Thursday. Plain packaging, nothing alarming. Inside, 2 columns. One marked with my name. One with his. No matches. Not a single one. I stood motionless in the kitchen, holding the letter when she walked in, keys dangling from her fingers, a grocery bag swinging at her side. "You all right?" she asked, still staring down at her phone. I gently placed the envelope on the counter. She glanced at it, then met my eyes. "What's that?" "Read it," I said. I didn't tremble. But her hand did when she picked it up. I watched the blood drain from her face, watched her mouth twitch, her knuckles whiten as she gripped the counter like the floor had shifted beneath her. "I can explain," she began. I nodded. "You should. Just not to me." I turned, took my keys from the hook. She reached out, tears forming. "Please." "Save it," I replied and walked out the door. That night was supposed to be our 10th anniversary. She'd organized everything, booked the venue, chosen the playlist, carefully curated the guest list. Every person that mattered to her was there. The ones who didn't, they stood, awkward and ignored, in the garage. But I wasn't just standing. The night before, while she slept peacefully beside me, I'd already moved out half my things. Quietly, methodically. Every important file, every hard drive, every financial document she thought I'd long discarded. The party was never meant to celebrate our marriage. It was the finale. She didn't know her own lawyer had been invited. Didn't know he'd already received the DNA results and the account records labeled Exhibit A. Didn't know I had audio recordings of her phone conversations, every laugh, every plan, every lie. And when she smirked at me in front of the room, made me the punchline of her private joke, called me useless, unnecessary, I didn't yell, didn't defend myself. I just looked her in the eye and said, "Check under our bed." Beneath it, in a sealed folder, were 2 things. The original title to our home, purchased solely in my name before we ever said I do. A letter, in my handwriting, addressed only to her. It ended with one line. "I let you lie just long enough to watch you stumble over the truth." I didn't go back that night. Didn't take her calls. Didn't respond to her texts that began with "I'm sorry," escalated to "You're cruel," and finally dissolved into "please." By the time her mother called, I was in a dim, dusty motel room paid for in cash, the kind no one traces. "Son, that was too far," her voice trembled. "No," I thought, she destroyed herself. I just gave her the space to do it. I stared at the television. It was off. My reflection was the only thing staring back. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel like a shadow. I felt finished. I dropped the phone onto the thin motel comforter, lay back, closed my eyes, and let myself smile. Quiet. Cold. Complete.